Recorded live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up. I'm Run 7. How you doing? Today we're going to be going over Giants1975. I'm assuming you were born in 1975. I don't know. Or otherwise, it's just a conveniently placed number scheme there. If you've never seen a Defense Up episode, we grade on who you're using, their placement, their power levels, their ISOs, and what kind of mood I'm in. Kind of in a funky mood today, so let's see how this one goes. Team number 1 is the Black Order. All right. So Black Order is really good on defense, and I'm actually thinking about moving my Black Order to defense. There's a few important teams that they no longer take down, and everything else that they can take down already has another counter. So basically, you can't beat Infinity Watch, and you can't beat Heroes for Hire with them, and everybody else already has a counter. So putting them on defense is a good thing to do. The only reason to have them on offense is for when you encounter other Black Orders on defense. So let's take a look. We got some pretty good stars on this team. ISOs are looking good, although you don't have the Striker Skirmisher combo on the married couple. One of those should be a Skirmisher. Your choice. I prefer Striker on Proxima Midnight because I run them on offense, but on defense I would switch that, although I'm not going to spend the ISOs to switch it. So if you're going to switch one of them, I would switch her to a Skirmisher for defense. You don't need Fortifier on Cull Obsidian. He is super tanky, and people are... he's the last one to die most of the time on this team. It's just not necessary. You could put Healer on him. Raider works well. Striker for a pure damage boost. I think I run mine as a Raider. Unfortunately, he doesn't place vulnerables with his assist attack. Otherwise, he'd make a great skirmisher or something. Or the Raider could spread those around, but it doesn't. You know, if you're finding that people are attacking into your Cull Obsidian a lot, then I mean, I guess you could go Fortifier. I just now have never seen the need for it. It's always such a beefy character. You do need one more star on him, but that's okay. That's something that'll happen. I wouldn't, you know, waste the war credits on that unless you're, I don't know, unless you've got everybody else built up, because there's some really juicy characters in the war store right now. Placement doesn't matter so much, although you should have, I think you should swap places with Corvus Glaive and Thanos. Put Thanos next to Cull Obsidian. That way, when the other Thanos is smashing Cull Obsidian, he's also getting splash damage on Thanos, which causes your Cull Obsidian to retaliate, and you get more damage out of the team. Having Corvus Glaive next to him with those high red stars is probably okay because he can tank the splash damage and survive. But normally he's one of the squishier members of this team, and he ends up dying early, and it allows for somebody to come in on a cleanup, and of course Thanos won't be empowered on the second time around, or it just puts a crack in the armor and they're able to come through and beat the team. With having one of the married couple out of the scene, it reduces their damage output to a considerable degree. So yeah, all I can say is maybe change that ISOs, maybe change your placement, just by swapping those two characters. But otherwise, I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna give you a B+. Also, the power level on this team is just ridiculous, so it's gonna require a big Black Order no matter what. Team number 2 is the Asgardians, another great big team you've got on defense here. Let's see. Loki should definitely be a skirmisher on this 5-set piece because he's going to place a taunt and a vulnerable, and then Hela's going to go into it as a striker and do a double tap, plus she's going to be spreading all those negative effects. And I think, so yeah, definitely change Loki to a skirmisher. Raider's not the way to go with Loki. You're not getting much damage out of him anyway, and he's not doing enough attacks that even warrants it. So definitely skirmisher on Loki. Thor should probably be a Raider. Sif could be a Raider, but Striker's fine. Heimdall should definitely be a Raider. Yeah, I just really don't like those ISOs. Your placement is also one that I absolutely love if I was going into this with my symbiotes, because I can do Spider-Man's special right on Loki's head, and I can prolong the negative effects that are on the 3 players here, Hela, Thor, and Loki. I like having those all together when I attack into it. So ideally, you'd want to swap out Hela to the side and Thor to the side is the way I would do it. The real thing that you should do with this team is remove them from defense. Even at this power level, they're just lunch for symbiotes, for Axemen. I think even X Factor gets into these guys pretty easy. So get them off of defense. They're just a liability. You should be running Hela on offense on your supernatural team if you're not using Deathpool there. Loki has some offensive value. Thor goes great on the Wave 1 Avengers. And Heimdall and Sif are pretty much useless. Although I'm seeing people put Sif on the Wave 1 Avengers. However, the Wave 1 Avengers is just, even though they reworked it not too long ago, it's back down to being pretty much useless again. The only real teams that matter in war right now is Heroes for Hire and Infinity Watch on defense. So, but this team is just an absolute liability. You're going to get way better value using these characters on offense or on other defensive teams. So, yeah, the ISOs are screwy, your placement's screwy, and the team shouldn't be run at all. I'm going to give you a D for this team. Even though you've got great power investment in it, you're using it terribly. Team number 3 is your Infinity Watch with Kestrel. This is a formidable team. Adam Warlock is the best version of it, but Kestrel works also very well. Hopefully your alliance has you in a room that is either security or adjacent to security. That'll maximize the potential with your Kestrel. You've got them all strikers, except Nebula should be a skirmisher. This is a big no-no. This is a very big no-no. You absolutely have to change Nebula to a skirmisher. You'll be getting the skirmisher striker combo off of her and almost doubling the output damage of this team. So definitely change that. You can have her as a healer, that's acceptable. She does have some synergy, but honestly, everybody still just puts her as a striker to get the triple hit combo with Nebula. So you're going to want to, I think you should change healer to striker also. As for Kestrel, on this team, you can run Kestrel as a raider because she's not getting... There's not going to be any vulnerables out there for her to hit. So I would change her to a raider, although primarily striker is how you want to go with her because of the way that she works. So yeah, that's a huge foul right there, is that ISO on Nebula. Your placement doesn't matter so much. I think it's actually, I like this placement. I like having Nebula and Kestrel out on the outside. A lot of people are going to go after Kestrel first, and then they're going to go after probably Phyla-Vell, and then maybe Nebula, something like that, or maybe Kestrel and then Nebula, but they're going to be going for Kestrel first. So having her off to the side is good, because a lot of people might go into this with the Kestrel of their own, like an Infinity Watch with Kestrel. And so on a mirror match, and that's... Yeah, you want to have her over there. Although, if somebody's going into this with Infinity Watch of their own, they're probably just going to do basic on Kestrel, and she'll be dead before their Kestrel even takes a turn, or your Kestrel for that matter. Either way, hopefully you're in defense down. Definitely change this ISO here. I think you should change this ISO here. Your placement is good. Power levels are great. It is a very formidable team that you should be using on defense, although... You might consider putting this team on offense until you get Adam Warlock. That way you can use Kestrel on offense also. I'm going to give you a B- for this team. There's a lot of things you can do to improve it. Number 4 is Brotherhood with Doom. This is an incredibly formidable defensive team. It's very challenging. Shadowlands can beat it. X Factor with Rhino can beat it, although that's a tricky play. Yeah, it's a very formidable team. And I see what you're doing with the ISOs here. You've got Fortifier on everybody because you know that they've got to get through Blob and they've got to get through Juggernaut before they can start taking down Doom and stuff. And then Pyro's just a squishy tune. So you're trying to give them a little more viability here with that. And that's okay. I think that there's a better play. I think you should go Raider, and then keep him a striker, personally. I think that you're going to be getting some damage. You're going to be putting vulnerables out there. And if Doom does pop off and those vulnerables are out there, that this team's just going to annihilate the field. I think it's be a better play to go with the Raiders on those guys. Not necessary. I don't know why you've got Skirmisher on Magneto. He usually has enough focus to make all those blinds stick, although everything... post-Surfer is starting to change the rules a little bit, so maybe that's why you're going with this Skirmisher, just that 50% increase. Plus, he's going to be getting some vulnerables on the field for Doom to work off. But, you know, Doom's so slow as a striker. The only reason people are putting Striker on there is because he has such a big AoE that you're just going for the max damage on that one attack. You're not actually going for combos with that Striker. So, personally, I say change these ISOs all to Raider except for Doom. Get a little bit more power in your blob. He's actually a useful character even outside of this team. You can put him in places, and because he gives those adjacent deflects, it's pretty handy. Speaking of the adjacent deflects, you might want to consider putting him, if this team is losing, you might want to put him adjacent to Doom to help keep some of the damage off of Doom so they can't kill Doom fast enough. You might want to get Pyro adjacent to Blob. I mean, these deflects are just causing you 25% damage reduction, so it's a thing to do, but having him right here and keeping Magneto alive, it's okay. Magneto isn't really a target. Like, he pops off, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about him for like 7 more turns or something. Yeah, so change the ISOs, think about your placement at least, and bring up the power level on Blob a bit. You should probably bring up the power level on Pyro too if you're serious about this team. I'm going to give you a B for this because it's still going to work the way you have it. I just think you got room for improvement. Team number 5, Fantastic Four with She-Hulk. I think you should probably move the Thing next to She-Hulk to take some of the splash damage, or put Invisible Woman next to She-Hulk. With as big as she is, she'll be able to take the splash damage also. Johnny's a pretty squishy character. You have Fortifier on your tank. Again, he doesn't need it. You've got Raider on Mr. Fantastic. I think that's a bad pick. I think Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman should be Skirmisher, and I think Johnny and the Thing should be Strikers. You get a lot of Striker Skirmisher combos off of this team because of Mr. Fantastic's passive ability. And then She-Hulk, actually, I'm finding She-Hulk as a Fortifier makes this team pretty formidable. I recently pulled some high red stars on my She-Hulk, and I took her up, and I'm stopping Black Orders with this team. It's on punch acrosses. It's kind of nuts what She-Hulk can do, mostly because Black Order tends to put a lot of bleeds out there and stuff like that, and she'll just clear those bleeds and throw them back at Black Order. And so it's actually, you know, it's a formidable defense. It really is. It just takes a higher investment in She-Hulk. She-Hulk should actually be your most powerful character on this team. Unfortunately, she's terrible outside of this team. She's terrible everywhere in the game, really. And she's only of medium value on this defense. Okay, so a little tweak to your placement, a little tweak to the ISOs, and definitely just dump some power into She-Hulk if you're serious about this team. Otherwise, it's not going to net you many victories at all. You'd be better off putting Namor in here and running them on offense. Gonna give you a B- for that. Heroes for Hire with JJ as the 5th. I don't like the placement on this one. I think you need to swap places with Colleen Wing and JJ. And then you need to have Misty Knight as a Skirmisher. And yeah, I like the rest of it. I'm starting to tell people to put Fortifier on Luke Cage, because when Shang-Chi comes out, he's going to be the first target, and he's going to die and respawn, and he's going to respawn with that extra barrier each time, rather than dying with a rejuve over his head that never actually got applied. So yeah, don't do healer, do Fortifier like you were doing here. If you're serious about this team, and it is currently the best war defense team, I would go ahead and bring the green ISOs to level 5. Like I said, change the ISO on Misty Knight. When they become farmable, of course, you're going to want to bring up these two girls. And Colleen Wing, you should probably put some more gear on her. I don't know if you need to put more gear on Luke Cage just yet. Let's see what happens when you get Shang-Chi. Don't touch JJ, of course, because she's going to be gone here in a couple of weeks. And then she will be delegated to one of the worst tunes in the game, because she will have no value anywhere at all. Yeah, other than a slight tweak to your placement and a slight ISO tweak, you're doing pretty good there, even at those power levels, and I think you'd be looking good. I'm going to give you a B for that one also. Doc Ock's Sinister 6. Wow, Wow. Okay, so you took Rhino off of there. You're probably using that Rhino X Factor offense for the Doom Brotherhood build. That's good. You've got Mysterio in there. You've got high red stars on Mysterio and haven't built up pretty high, so that's going to be tough for the symbiotes to crack into him. Otherwise, I'd say get Mysterio out of there, but you've got him beefed way up. That's pretty good. The rest of your team could use a little love, especially Electro. She has a lot of damage on this team. She's important. Put some juice into her. Your Doc Ock's looking fantastic. Hopefully you're getting that 7th star on him this week. Yeah, you're doing pretty good. I like who you've got adjacent to Doc Ock. Being that you have Mysterio in here, giving him those deflects is going to help out. I don't see anything, I mean, other than the slight investment that you can do to Electro, I wouldn't bother putting points into the other guys because, well, they're just not that good. It's just not a defense worth investing into. But the power level is too lopsided with her. You got to give her some love. Otherwise, actually, this is pretty good. You got Raider, you got Healer on Swarm is probably not a great choice. Maybe go Raider on him. Yeah, I think you should go Raider on him also. I like Strikers on these two. That works. You could also do Raider on Electro, but Striker works just fine. Yeah, but definitely change that Healer to a Raider. Otherwise, that's pretty good. I'm going to give you an A- for that team, actually. Gosh, that power level's so low, it's a liability. But yeah, A-, good enough. All right, and for the final team, we got the Mercs. Sorry, our picture's a little clipped over here. You're running the full Mercs. This is what I run on my Blitz team. Consider putting in something like Korath the Pursuer here and maybe Ultimus here. But if you don't have Ultimus already built up, it's not worth the investment. It's just Korath and Ultimus here really screws with the Skilletary team. So if you're serious about your Mercs, it's kind of the way to go right now. Otherwise, right here, X4s, Uncanny, and what else beats this? I mean, Skilletary still beats this, of course. Yeah, and then I think you can get X Factor to do it also. I'm not sure, but you got to do X Factor and Zemo, I believe. Plus, there's a Zemo Hydra team that beats this too. So I would definitely swap out these two characters if you're serious about this defense. If not, consider Shuri and Killmonger in here. Let's see. Oh, huge mistake. You got to have this guy as a skirmisher. Taskmaster has to be a skirmisher for this team to work at all. You might as well not field the team if he's not a skirmisher. It's all about the striker-skirmisher combo, getting the triple hit combo with Taskmaster. One of the Mercs attacks, he counterattacks, places the vulnerable, which triggers the ISO bonus attack, and you get 3 hits. Really increasing the damage output of this team. Otherwise, I think you got it all right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of wondering if maybe you switched him to a healer for some other reason and didn't lock your ISO in on the defense or something. Because otherwise, you got this team set up just right for the ISOs. Also, your placement is very inefficient. You need to swap places with Taskmaster and Merc Riot Guard. Merc Riot Guard is giving adjacent deflex, and you've got nobody adjacent to him on the other side over here. So swap places with those, because Taskmaster doesn't do anything adjacent, so you put him out on the end. Okay. Yeah, you kind of put the kibosh to this team with that ISO and the placement, and your power levels are so wonky. X-Force comes in here and gives this guy a little love tap, and they're guaranteed to win now because it'll give that X23 the speed boost option, and they'll just tear this team apart. So yeah, this team right as is totally a worthless defense. You're not getting any value out of this at all. I'm kind of surprised you have it in your 8th slot. Swap out this character at least, if not Bullseye also. Even out your power levels with whoever you're using. Change Taskmaster to a skirmisher. Swap placement on them. I'm giving you a D- on this team. This is a really bad use for the Mercs. Okay. If you like what you saw today, please feel free to like, subscribe, make some comments if you got some ideas on how these teams should be used, what you're using in there. I'm reading the comments more and more these days. It's important for me to stay in touch with the community and what they like and what they're doing with their teams, and that's how you can help me out and have your voice be heard in some of these videos, because I do take note of those comments, and when there's a good idea, I implement it into the next videos if I can. Yeah, so it's been good. Coming up in the future video is going to be Mr. Hartgrave's defense, so stay tuned for that one. And remember, don't just have a good game. Be good to each other too. Thanks. Bye.